All right. It even states it across the board here. So I'm going to put continue on here. All right. I'd like to say good morning to everyone. I welcome you here today. The meeting will be considered officially open. I'm excited for today. We have a special guest, as you all know, the Chief of Police here in the city of Richmond. And I love all your beautiful faces. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'd like to start the program. And Madeline, please keep me on task here today. I'm not sure where we're at on the agenda. So, oh, thank you. There we go. Introductions, the start of the Zoom meeting, executive board. Okay. Would everyone who is a member of the board like to quickly introduce yourself and say good morning, and then we will go on to our guest speaker of the morning. Janet, would you like to say good morning and introduce yourself?
I would be happy to do that. I heard you say that and I just didn't dawn on it that dawn on me to do it. My name is Janet Abelson and I'm Vice President of Membership. And I'm also the Chair of the Nominating Committee.
Okay, thank you. Madeline?
Hi, I'm Madeline Cronenberg. I'm Vice President Programs and I'm the Zoom account holder.
And you're a member of the Nominating Committee.
And I'm a member of the Nominating Committee, yes.
Okay, so excuse me if I miss someone. I'm gonna start with Linda. Linda, would you say good morning and introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning. I'm Linda Whitmore, and I am the Assistant Vice President with Madeline for Programs and Forums.
Thank you so much for that. Next, Anne.
Yes, I'm Ann Munoz and I'm the treasurer.
Thank you. Is Mrs. Braxton on? Yes, Mrs. Braxton?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to help Naomi get on. I'm Myrtle Braxton and I'm the acting secretary of the League of Women Voters and I'm on the Commission on Aging for the city of Richmond.
And I call her Miss Richmond because she's on 100 committees. Thank you. And we have our coach here today. Would you like to introduce yourself? Mrs. White? I see her face. Are you muted? Good morning.
She's muted.
Mrs. White, you'd like to introduce yourself?
Oh, she's still trying to connect.
Oh, okay, I'll move on. I don't want to spend a lot of time with these introductions. Just jump in there. Tyra, you're here. Would you please introduce yourself? Did we lose her?
Yes, I'm in two places. I'm sorry. My name is Tyra Wright, and I am a member at large of the executive board for the League of Women Voters.
Thank you.
I'm Sherry McCoy and I'm on the
I'm sorry, Naomi is in the waiting room.
Sorry about that. Sherry, continue.
I was done. I introduced myself. So Sherry McCoy.
And your responsibility is connected with what?
I do voter registration for the League of Women Voters.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Naomi, are you ready to say good morning? Okay. All right.
We have Consuelo.
Consuelo, please speak.
Yes, I'm Consuelo Lara, and I'm a member of the executive board. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Naomi said she was in the waiting room.
Okay.
Okay.
Madeline will let her in. And Mrs. Callaway, is she here this morning?
I went off because I needed, because I'm not seeing right. And
And you need to mute yourself for a
trying to
moment.
get back on right now.
Mrs.
I can't
Callaway.
find my glasses.
Ms.
Mrs.
Callaway is not here.
Oh, okay. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so
I'm sorry, Madam President, Naomi's on now.
Okay, Naomi, we have gone around and introduced ourselves primarily because I wanted our keynote speaker to know who we were. So if you would quickly say good morning and give your name.
Good morning. My name is Naomi Williams. Thank you. And I'm a member of the LWV CCC. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's all of the board members this morning that are present. If not, please jump in before we move forward and I introduce our keynote speaker.
Do you want me to introduce the nominating committee or do that later?
Do it later, please.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we want the keynote speaker to speak and then be free, or she can leave and then conduct the business of the day. We don't want to hold her here all day. So with all that said and done, I'm very excited and pleased to have the Chief of Police, French, here today. And one of the things that I wanted to emphasize that I was, we have a bio here for everyone to read and what have you, but I just want to emphasize a point that when she accepted the position to take on this great responsibility, that made her the only female chief of police in the state of California. Now, I don't know if it's still standing, but I mean, that in itself is impressive. So I just wanted to emphasize that. The bio is there and everyone is welcome to read it. But at this point, I'd just like to say good morning and welcome, Chief French, and the floor is yours.
Good morning, and I just have to do one correction, not the only female chief, the only African-American female chief in the state. There are other females here in the state of California that are police chiefs. Just want to make sure I give due recognition to the other women across our state. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me here today. So I know my bio's in there. I'm not going to go over my bio, but just a little bit about me. I've been with the Richmond Police Department for the last 23 years, and I've served as the police chief for the last 2 years. I was appointed as interim in September of 2019, and I was appointed as the permanent police chief in August of 2020. And I have to say that this has probably been the most difficult time in my career. Of course, I have the responsibility of the entire police department and safety across the city of Richmond, but it's also a very difficult time for the policing profession with, reform efforts, the killings that we've seen across the country involving law enforcement and community members, the defund movement. It's just been, and COVID, there's just been so much. So when I took over in September 2019, it was after a vote of no confidence in our previous chief. Morale was low. There was a difficult time in the department already just because of the tensions internally between management team and the Police Officers Association. And as we, try to work our way through that, moving into early 2020, of course, all of us were disrupted with COVID and trying to navigate, keeping the city safe, keeping officers safe, and dealing with this pandemic that, of course, some of us have never experienced before. I don't think any of us have ever experienced a pandemic of this magnitude in our lifetimes. It was very difficult. Of course, we lost a sergeant to COVID, and that was hard hitting for our department. And then all of a sudden, in the midst of trying to do things differently in terms of keeping people safe, then we had the George Floyd killing, which of course, really, there had been killings between law enforcement and the community prior. I mean, there are incidents, there are some that I don't think that we can prevent. But this one was different. This was one that I think everybody saw as a murder of one of our community members, and even law enforcement finally some people that, would finally stand up and say, this is not right and this is not what we do. But of course, this brought a lot of community out. We had the protests nationwide. We had small protests in Richmond. Thankfully, there were peaceful protests. But this really was the community coming out and saying, we are not going to tolerate this. We have to do things differently. As a result of this, our city council created a task force to reimagine what public safety should look like in Richmond. And I should say at that time, also, we had some major budget issues that we were dealing with in Richmond, a $27 million deficit that we were facing in the 2020-2021 budget. And with those difficulties, the police department lost about 34 positions, 20 sworn positions and 14 non-sworn positions, and another couple $1 million reduction of our budget to deal with those issues. So those two things kind of merged together, the reductions in our budget and the need and want for a different community policing model to deal with the policies and procedures so that things like George Floyd incident didn't happen in Richmond, as well as how we can still continue community policing efforts with a reduced police force. It's obvious that we couldn't provide the same level of service that we had been providing before because we have 34 less people, which is significant. And that was a reduction just last year, and we had been having reductions in years previous. So this task force was created to reimagine public safety. They began meeting somewhere around October, I believe. And earlier this year, they came out with recommendations on how we can reimagine what public safety looks like in Richmond. Many of the recommendations are great recommendations. They deal with some mental health issues, homelessness issues, youth issues, giving youth jobs. Great recommendations, things that will hopefully over time reduce the amount of calls that the police department gets for service, because we're trying to address root causes of crime and put more resources into the community so that they don't go into crisis mode and we're called to respond. And then also letting other people deal with a lot of the mental health issues as opposed to the police department, which I think we're seeing across the nation. That's what the call is, that police officers shouldn't have to respond to a lot of those calls. And so I agree with all of those recommendations, giving money to our Office of Neighborhood Safety in the city, who deals with gun violence and really targets the people that we believe are involved in gun violence. So those recommendations were put forth, but the issue that I had as a police chief was that the funding for all of those services, the task force wanted it to come from the police department, which would have resulted in a $10.3 million reduction to the police department, which I could only do by laying off police officers. And so obviously this became a huge issue within our community. Even though the task force is an open public meeting, and they had some community meetings that they invited folks to, I don't think a lot of the community at large that just don't pay attention to local politics knew what was happening. So I began to talk to a lot of the neighborhood council groups, because we always attended neighborhood council meetings to discuss, what these reductions would mean to the services that we would be able to provide to the community. And a lot of people weren't happy with those reductions in services. And so unfortunately, it became an issue that was very divided within our community. We have the task force and members that supported the task force that said, we want the money to come from the police department. We want to do things differently. And then we had, members of the community saying, we live here, we want our police department, we still need police services. And I think it's still a really divided issue. I really regret that it became so divisive in our community, because I think we all want the same thing. We all want safety across the board in our communities. It's just how we get there. I think, like I said, over time, a lot of these programs that are that were proposed and that we're working on implementing will eventually reduce some calls for service and reduce some crime. But I don't think it's going to be significant enough for me to significantly reduce my workforce. I think where we're at now is not enough for not enough officers to serve our community. We went from having over 200 officers to now having an authorized strength of 145, and I'm down to 139 officers actually working. Well, not actually working. I'm down to 139, and out of that 139, 25 of those people are off on injury leave or light duty. So I'm down to just over 100 officers to serve, not only respond to calls for service, but to also do the investigative work and everything else that we need to get done. So it's a very challenging time for us. But I'm at the point now where this is where we're at. We need to move forward. We need to figure out how to do things with the staff and the resources that we have. But we're in a challenging time. A lot of officers that when we were looking at when layoffs were on the table, there were a list of 23 officers that were going to get laid off if the recommendations were going to go through the way they were proposed, and that was a $10.3 million reduction. And so those officers started applying with many different police departments around the area. And just in the last month, I had 6 officers leave to work at different police departments because they were concerned about job stability. Additionally, I have about another 7 to 8 officers that are in background processes with other police departments and are probably going to leave. So hiring and retention of officers is going to be a significant challenge for me right now, and will continue to be for the next year or so. We're looking at how we can redeploy our officers, but we're with the amount of staffing we have, we also have to look at what services we're going to have to reduce because of the reduction in resources. We were hoping not to have to reduce any further services, but unfortunately, we've just come to a time where there's no other options. So let's see. So while it's been a difficult time, I think it's also a time of transition for this profession. And I want to use this time of transition to be a positive thing. I think that there are much needed changes in my profession and how we provide services to communities. And so I'm continuing to implement a lot of my own reform efforts that I had put together even before the conversation around reform started. And so I'm happy to report that over the last year, we started a cultural competency training for our officers. I realized that the history of this uniform, and there's a long-standing history even in Richmond where there weren't good police community relations. We can all think back to the 70s with the cowboys and the big payout that happened, was the largest payout in the country for that time, in which there was a payout because there were a group of officers that were using excessive force within our community. And even though that happened in the 70s, I know it's important for me to teach our young officers that history, because even though it was years ago, it still impacts how we do our job today. The children and grandchildren of the people that were affected back then, know those stories. And some people even can remember, their door getting kicked in or seeing the abuse at firsthand of what our officers caused to the community. So I think teaching that to our officers and letting them know that history can help them better prepare them for the resistance that we encounter in the community. So we started a cultural competency training. It has a lot of different levels. So the new officers that come in they have to work with a community based organization they'll shadow them for a week to see how we can better interact and work with various organizations across our city. They have to do a community program project with a community member. And it's all to teach them that we as law enforcement can't do things alone. We really have to partner with the community in this true community policing model to address crime and disorder across the city. And so we're continuing those partnerships. We're continuing to educate our staff, and we're also continuing to put in policies and procedures that are reflective of what the community is calling for. You know, we were one of the first departments to start de-escalation training across the country. Richmond has been a model for a lot of innovative policing methods, and we're continuing to see what we can put in place, what we can try that's new, so that we don't have those interactions that lead to negative results. So in addition to the cultural competency training, we're also partnering with different organizations like the Center for Policing Equity, which is a group that reviews all of our data and provides recommendations and reports for the community to view, so that we can see, you know, our who we're stopping, like our car stops. Are we disproportionate in the people that we're stopping? And so it's an outside entity that can look at our data and provide us with recommendations on how we can be better at policing. So those are just a couple of the things that we're doing reform-wise. Those are a couple of the challenges. I see this as an opportunity for us to improve and get better, even though it's going to be challenging with the reduction in budget, reduction in staffing. You know, the old adage that you have to do more with less, you just can't do more with less. I think that's a terrible saying that, you know, we tried to buy into, and it's just not, we cannot do more with less. We're going to do less with less. So that's where we're at. I want to open it up for any questions.
I see one hand up. Is that Naomi?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Naomi, please, if you have a question, ask.
Okay, my question is, I think that you was trying to hire 2 people from the civil service, oh no, the community service part, to replace the officers that you have already lost to fill in. And the city council had said that you could hire, but when you try to hire these 2 people, they took those 2 people and took them away and took that money with them to someplace else. Why did they take the money and put them over in SEIU union? I'm confused. If it was a police action, how did SEIU get in there?
Sure. So in our budget recommendation, last year, also during the time when we were reimagining public safety, I was also tasked with seeing what I can do within the police department to reduce the amount of sworn positions and how I can do some of the same tasks with professional staff as opposed to sworn staff. And so I came up with some community service officer positions that can take police reports and do some other low-level police activities, so it could free up police officers to do more of the dangerous activities that they have to encounter. And during this budget process, there was the recommendation and approval that those community service officer positions were taken from my department and put in the reimagining. I don't even know actually which department, because there's not a reimagining public safety, but the money funds for those positions were given to the reimagined public safety pot. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. The community service officer positions, as I propose them, cannot be outside of the police department, because you have to access police computers. You take police reports. Only people that work within the police department can take police reports. So that's going to be something that has to be discussed and decided upon. And if they want to keep the funding for those positions to do something else, then that's probably what they're going to end up doing.
Thank you.
Gabe, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, Chief Bisa French. And I'm Gabe Quinto, Vice Mayor of El Cerrito, and a former member of this board and part of the nominating committee. I want to say how grateful we are for you to be here and joining us. I heard you speak at the Institute of Local Government, and you spoke and you're letting elected officials up and down the state and fellow police chiefs and city managers know what was happening and the shortage of police that you have now, and I very much appreciated that. I do understand now that you only have 2 detectives to solve crimes. Are you able to get more personnel in that department to help in all the killings that you've had, and the shootings are an all-time high this year?
Yes, so no, when we continue to reduce police officers, the focus has to be on patrol. Patrol has to be available to respond to calls for service. At a minimum, we have a minimum staffing. So there's 9 officers on duty at any given time across the entire city of Richmond. So as our numbers reduce, as officers leave, and especially if they leave from patrol, I have to pull from investigations and other areas like traffic to fill in those gaps in patrol, because I have to maintain that minimum staffing level. I'm in the process right now. We have 6 teams that cover 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I'm in the process of disbanding one of those teams, and that's the weekend swing shift team, which I wasn't even fully staffing this year. And again, I have to have the officers minimum staffing to go out there and respond when you call 911. So that means all of these other areas suffer. So right now we don't investigate hardly any property crimes. So if somebody breaks in your house, steals your stuff, we don't have the detectives to do the investigative follow-up work to figure out who that was. Unless we have really solid leads, the case isn't going to get investigated. Fraud cases, computer crime cases, I don't have the personnel to address any of those types of crimes. So they go, we'll take the police report, it's documented, but it's not going to get followed up on, it's not going to get investigated. One of the things that we had to pull back from last year was even responding to calls and taking reports. Historically, I've always been a proponent of a police officer responding to take a report if your car is broken into, whatever might happen, because most people don't call the police. So when the one time you do, you want a police officer to show up to take your police report. You pay taxes, that's what I would expect. And because of the reduction in our staff, I can't send an officer out. So we refer people to make reports online. Of course, there's some issues with that, especially in our community. Some people don't have access to computers. We have, older people that may not feel comfortable going on computers. So we're just continually trying to figure out how we can provide the best level of service with the reductions that we have. So to answer your question, yeah, there's only, we've had 11 homicides this year. We have 4 homicide detectives to investigate the 11 homicides, plus the 50 plus other shootings that we've had. So obviously the team is overwhelmed. They're doing the best that we can, but the quality of investigations suffer.
Thank you.
I think there's some hands. Miss Grassi has her hand up, Miss Dandy and Miss Langlois.
So we can do them in the order.
Does that mean me, Ms. Collier?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Hi, I'm Joni Grassi, and I do have a short question, but I first wanted to thank Chief Bisa French for, in the past, I was a Crime Watch captain, and she called me and said, I'm coming to your meeting, and we were so excited. And this is about back in 2015, Chief French. And then the day before it was happening, she calls me and she said, and she's apologizing to me. And I'm just was so humbled by this. She said, my son was invited to the White House by Michelle Obama, and I'm going with him. Can I miss the meeting? I said, we are so proud. You are going to the White House to see Michelle Obama. We will just cheer for you. But she was so humble, and she called me apologizing. I've never gotten it over it, Chief French. And just thank you for all you've done in the meantime. And with all your talents here, you were apologizing for missing a Crime Watch neighborhood meeting in my backyard. So, but my little question, Naomi's laughing because she was on the executive board of Crime Watch. I know she was. I hear that President Biden has appointed, I believe, former Chief Chris Magnus to some position. Is he going to be helpful, I hope, in any way to you or our community still, or can he be?
Well, he's going to be dealing with the Border Patrol. So I'm not sure how much of a
I forgot
help
what the
he is.
position. Oh,
Yeah, but he is still somebody that I consult with and I talk to regularly. So he's still helpful for me personally. So
that's something. Thank you again for all you do for us. Thank you.
thank you. And thank you for forgiving me for not being at the meeting. I hate saying that I'm going to do something and not being there, but I just have to add, because I am going to brag, that same son is now getting ready to start Harvard Law School. So
Fabulous.
very excited about that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Dandy, I see your hand up.
Good morning. I'm still doing hair and my hair is still wrapped up. So, and no makeup or lashes, so I'm not coming on. Good morning, Chief Bisa. I have a question. I know it's probably at the bottom of the totem pole, but because I work with the youth so much in the community, it's always a concern to me, especially things that's going on. So my question is, with all the cuts, which is just making me sick to my stomach, just like I said, the bottom of the totem pole, are we going to still do the Community Safety Academy, the Neighborhood Watch, where the officers come to our meetings? I know you came to one of them, and then the Explorer program and PAL. Now, like I said, I know that they're at the bottom of the totem pole, and those are probably not even on your list of concerns, not saying it like that, but concerns about things that can keep the community up to what's going on. But that's a concern for me, because a lot of kids need to go and be in these programs and want to be in these programs, even with whatever reimagining is saying that they don't want them. I know for a fact, because I'm boots on the ground with these kids that want these programs. So what are we going to do about them? Are you going to keep them, or you're at a standstill?
So my plan is to keep as many of the community programs as possible. That's their community policing model that I think really contributed to the reduction in crime. We have to continue to engage the community in non-enforcement ways, because that's how we build trust. That's how we build relationships. That's how we work together to address the crime issues. The Community Safety Academy is an 8-week academy that we bring people into our department and teach them all about what we do. We put them through scenario training. We allow them to do ride-alongs, teach them everything about the police department so they have a better understanding. And I think it's really been a great program, because people are like, oh, I never knew you did that. And look how much training goes into this or that. It's really eye-opening for people, especially when we do that scenario training where we put you in real life situations. Of course, they're not real.
Yeah, I got killed.
And you have to make those quick split-second decisions on what you're going to do. It's the scenarios that police officers are put in on a daily basis. And until you're actually put in that situation and you're having to make that choice, I think a lot of people come out of that with a very different perspective on, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback what police officers do. And of course, they make a lot of mistakes. I mean, we're all human. Mm-hmm. But when you go through that scenario and you see how you react, even though you think you would react in a different way, when that stress level is high and you're trying to react, it's really eye-opening. So I think programs like that are really important. I think it's important that we connect with our community in that way. And so we want to continue programs like that. The challenge is, again, I'm going to state the reduction in staff makes this all challenging. When I have to focus on just responding to calls for service, everything else becomes an overtime issue. And overtime has been a big issue for a long time. But I don't have extra officers that are sitting around waiting to just do programs like this. They are responding to calls. And yes, they want the community to know what we're doing. So they're willing to come in on overtime to, you know, put on some of these programs, but and then I get beat up about the amount of overtime that I'm using. But this all doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's, you know, police officer out there doing their job. And then this is kind of some of the extra stuff that we're doing. And the only way to do it is on overtime. So we're trying to figure out the Explorer program, because the Explorer rate, you have to have a certain amount of officers per group of explorers when they come out to different festivals and activities. And if I keep getting beat up on overtime, then those are the programs that unfortunately suffer. I can't have a bunch of explorers if I don't have police officers to watch them. That's just the way the program goes. I don't have full-time officers just to watch explorers because it's not a full-time job. So that continues to be a challenge.
Thank you. I mean, all of this breaks my heart, especially mainly because my daughter's basically in all these programs and have gone through these programs. And as she's aging out and those that are trying to come under her, it's hard to give people information when I don't know, or she doesn't even know if these programs are still going to exist, which we've been through these programs. And I do understand overtime, because these officers, sometimes they get off their shift and then they go into the Community Safety Academy to help community members understand what's going on. So for me, this is a big step back for a lot of reasons why people don't understand what's going on in the community. So that was my main question, to make sure that I get an understanding of the what's next for youth and community members for programs like this. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Get over here. Marilyn, your hand is up.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much. My camera is off. I am just recovering from hip surgery, and so a little disheveled, but very happy to be here. I'm a Richmond resident. My name is Marilyn Langlois, Richmond resident. I've been a longtime League member. In fact, I was a former president of the League of Women Voters of Diablo Valley, where I used to live 20 years ago. And I'm really appreciate the West County League inviting you, Chief French, to speak to us today, because I always appreciate your presentations and your commitment and your perseverance in dealing with a lot of these challenges that you face and the shortages in staff. Here's my question with regard to the Reimagine situation. What kind of a timeline do you envision as the programs develop and we get develop these mental health response teams and some of these other types of positions that could go back into the police department that are not sworn officers to do just sort of report taking? And as that gets built up, how do you envision transition in police dispatch so that the dispatch can ascertain which calls actually require a sworn officer to go out and which calls don't necessarily need a sworn officer because there's nothing life-threatening going on, but they could be addressed by one of these mental health teams or something like that. So in that way, to somewhat lessen the demand of time on your sworn officers.
Right, that's a great question. So I think that we have a really capable dispatch staff that will be able to discern whether a call should go to the police department as opposed to the mental health workers. However, I don't believe that that's the model that the Reimagining Task Force has come up with. They are looking to have a completely separate dispatch system for people to call. I am actually very concerned with that. I think most calls are still going to come into our 911 system. They're still going to be directed, and then there's going to be a delay because then those calls are going to have to be transferred to another dispatch system to be able to be dispatched to the mental health team. So I think that if with training and additional staff in our dispatch system center, I think that our dispatchers would be able to navigate that But again, that's not what the actual Reimagining Task Force is recommending. They want a completely separate dispatch system. In addition to that too, there's state legislation right now that's calling for a mental health dispatch, overall statewide mental health dispatch system, where you call a certain number for mental health services and then they dispatch to mental health services. So if we in Richmond have a statewide system with one number, another mental health number just for Richmond, and then the actual 911 system, I think it's going to be very confusing and challenging for our folks to know, especially in a crisis situation, on who they're supposed to call. So I hope that that's something that eventually gets worked out. And the statewide system, I think, will be good because it will be across the state. It's one number, and I'm sure the state will do some, really effective campaigns so that people know exactly what number to call for mental health services. And then everything else goes to the 911 system or our dispatch system, where if we have to transfer, we can. But I don't think that there should be a separate dispatch for mental health services just in Richmond. I think it's going to be very confusing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I concur on that, having too much duplicative, because reality is people are going to call 911 anyway, That's what they're used to doing. So that if we could get to the point where the dispatch is trained to know which calls to direct where, I think that would be more useful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Braxton, I believe your hand was up next.
Unmute yourself, Myrtle. Oh,
Hi.
okay.
I actually have two questions. Number one, I'm concerned because of the fact that the last budget reduction, we had to terminate the text program. And that was a program that really helped starting in elementary school to teach children, right from wrong, where crimes were concerned, not to be afraid of the police and all this kind of thing. And I say that because I think in the city of Richmond, I don't think people realize that because of community policing, we know our beat officers. We know, like I've known Bisa for how many years, we know our chief of police. As Naomi will attest to, when one of our chiefs retired, he used to come back every Christmas and bring me and Naomi a Christmas present. So I'm just saying, you know them, and now they don't want that kind of thing. So I agree with Marilyn too. My question really is, what are we going to do while they're training these people to replace the police? In other words, like I said one time, who do I call? Gangbusters? But I mean, what am I supposed to do if there is a mental crisis and these group of people have not been trained, but we've already pulled the money out of the police department to do this? And this, a lot of other things is very, it's very scary. That's the only word I can think of. What do we do while they're being trained?
So this is the frustration of my staff, is that we're being reduced, yet we're still the ones tasked with responding to these calls with less people. And when you actually look at the data, we actually do a pretty good job in responding to these calls. Nothing's ever going to work out perfectly. And yeah, when we do use force, a lot of times it does involve a mental health situation or crisis. But in just kind of doing an overall view of those calls would still have been a police officer response, as opposed to the mental health teams that are being set up, meaning there was a weapon involved, there was some type of violence involved. So those are the calls that won't go to the mental health workers. They're still going to continue to go to the police department. And so that's the challenge. We are going to answer your question, we are still going to have to respond to those calls, and all of them, until these teams are set up.
Thank you. Is it Cordell? Is your hand up?
Good morning. Yes. Good morning, Ms. Cheryl, Legal Women Voters. My name is Cordell Handler, and I'm a Park Plaza Neighborhood Council person. And so thank you so much for having me here today. So to Chief French. So my question is, do you envision having a consultant like to do a complete reorganization chart for the department? That's it.
Yeah, we're going to do a complete reorganization chart of the department, but I won't have a consultant to do that. I have to have one of my folks do that. It's not in the budget to outsource. But yes, Cordell, we'll be getting you a up-to-date chart. We were just waiting for the budget to get passed. And so now that it's passed, we'll be doing the updated chart.
So I will pass my question to Linda.
Okay, yes, her hand is up. She is next. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chief French, thank you very much for coming this morning and speaking to us. I don't know if a lot of you know, I'm Linda Whitmore, and I am on that Reimagining the Police Safety Task Force. I was one of the minorities that didn't vote for defunding or removing money from our police department and removing officers. I believe that we should have been phasing this in, like Myrtle was saying. I think there's some great programs. We need a mental health crisis center in our city. We need programs for our youth in our center, jobs for them. We need to work on and deal with our homeless in our city. But I didn't think it should have been on the backs of our police department. And I remember when I got involved with the safety task force, I got involved for reimagining our community policing system, not for the budgeting of our police or reducing our police, but just reimagining how we can use community police to work with our city in a better way. We talk about Chief Magnus. We were a blue ribbon city for our community policing department under Chief Magnus. Chief French, when she became our chief, she got the job, and we were still a blue ribbon community policing department. And all of a sudden, people forgot about that. Community policing was part of our, was ingrained in our community. It was so beautiful to have that. And the reason I'm saying this is that, and the chief can't say this, is that you need to, and maybe I'm going off script, but if you have concerns, then you go to your city council and voice your concerns. If you have concerns, you go to the safety task force meetings. We have them, and voice your concerns, okay? We can't just sit here and say, these are our problems. Oh, well, what can we do? We can do a lot, okay? I might get kicked off the task force for saying this, but I don't care. But we can do a lot. You know, we can voice our opinions, okay? We want, you know, programs are fantastic. We need them, but we need our police also. And I think that if we're really shorthanded and we're not getting our burglaries investigated, and we're not having police come to our neighborhood meetings anymore, and we're not having police investigate traffic crimes, stopping cars because they don't have police there to stop the cars who are speeding through our streets anymore, then we speak up. We pay the taxes, we live here. It's our city, it's what we need to do. So Chief can't say this. I'm speaking behind her back. She doesn't even hear me saying this, but we need to speak up for our city and for our rights. Okay, so I just want to thank you, please, Chief Bisa French, for working with the Safety Task Force and working with the city and not giving up and saying you're going to reimagine the way you can reimagine, even with all the difficult things that are happening to our police department. But I think as citizens of this, residents of this city, we need, even El Cerrito needs to speak up too. Because I know that we have a hand in El Cerrito and we do things with San Pablo, it's not just Richmond. So I'm gonna get off of my platform right now. But I think that we can do a lot as residents of the city. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, Naomi, your hand.
You know, all of these ideas that we have, and you say go out and speak out, who we're gonna speak to? We got a city council with the majority of RPAs. This is itself hurting our city too, because they get their mind made up in the beginning. They have their meetings, and I'm sure they talk about political stuff in their meetings. They're not just there to talk about how do you wash clothes without water. They're actually involved. So what can we do to turn that around? I mean, you know, if you in one group, you make up your mind, that's what you're gonna do. no matter what I say, you're not gonna change it, not for me. So what do you think all of us been talking about all this time? To not to defund the police, even before we defunded the police, they said it's not defunded. But yes, they did, because when they took those 2 jobs away and gonna put it on the SCIU, that was defunded. And they defunded it last year for some reason. But who we gonna talk to? We can talk to 2 that seem to think about doing the right thing. But we got the 4 majority sitting up there on city council that have made up their mind.
Madam President, I'm going to be quiet, but Naomi, even your voice being heard and on the records is more important than not saying anything.
Yeah,
So
well, I'm not saying don't say
anything. Move on.
anything.
I know that, but I'm just saying.
No, but I'm not saying don't say nothing. You all should always speak out. Enough of us should speak out. But the minority is always talking, like me.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in there. And what you have just said, Miss Naomi, is you've just taken me out of retirement as a community activist. And I am going to become very active. And you come from all sides. You deal with the people at hand. You deal with the people who manage the money. There's many ways that you can attack a situation if you're not satisfied with it. And I'm going to count on you to be with me when I step forward to do that, because we're going to turn this around, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Are there any more questions? Well, Chief French. Oh,
No.
your hand just went up. I'm sorry. I was going to say thank you for coming. Okay. Janet, your hand is up.
No, that was Gabe
No.
Quintos too.
Oh.
He had his hand up also.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. A quick question. I know we did pass countywide the Measure X sales tax, and that was supposed to pay for mental health, addiction services, homelessness services, and know that of the 19 cities, including Richmond, we do not have a health department like what we see in Berkeley. So why is the city of Richmond, why are they taking additional funds when all that extra funding on the Measure X tax are going to these services and are going to nonprofits already? Is this in addition to the services getting in the county, from the county?
That was my question. Like I said before, a lot of great services, proposals from the Reimagining Task Force, but we can fund these in different ways. Measure X is one of them. So I don't have the answer to that question, and I will continue to ask, why aren't we using the funding that's being provided? We should be leveraging funds. The county gets the county is responsible for mental health services. And if they're not providing the level of mental health services that we as a city want, we need to be trying to leverage additional funds and holding them accountable for providing, excellent services. And rather than just scrapping it and saying, okay, we're just going to do our own. We're still paying. You all know I live here in Richmond too, so I pay taxes here. We're still paying taxes to the county to do these services, and yet we're going to be paying money now to the city to do the same services. So,
thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, Janet, I see your hand up. You have a question?
Unmute, Janice.
Janet, you have to unmute. Oh, she's having difficulty
If the host can unmute her, if you click on whoever the host is can help unmute her.
Okay, Madeline.
In the meantime, I think Ms. Wright has a question.
There, did I get it now?
Yes.
Yes, you did.
Good. Okay, thank you. I was curious about your opinion about the relationship between Richmond and El Cerrito. I'm on the El Cerrito City Council. I have lived in Richmond, and in the past, obviously I can't now because I'm on the city council in El Cerrito. But anyway, I was wondering about your opinion about the relationship between El Cerrito and Richmond in terms of the policing of the two cities, and how they interact, if you think it goes well or doesn't go well. You know, what do you think?
We actually have a really good relationship. We put, as you all know, because you passed the budget, we provide dispatch services for the city of El Cerrito. So that means that we're all on the same radio channel communications. And so that really helps. We know what's going on in El Cerrito because we hear the calls and they know what's going on, so we can assist each other better. And so I think it's really been a great partnership. It's really been a good, it really works for us. So years ago, we used to, our dispatch center used to dispatch for not only El Cerrito, but Kensington, San Pablo, El Cerrito Fire, Richmond Fire, all of them. We used to do in-house at our dispatch center. And then we got away from that model, but we still continued the relationship with El Cerrito. So it's just Richmond and El Cerrito. And I just think that I wish that we were still dispatching for San Pablo. I wish we still heard those calls because everything is so interconnected. San Pablo, we completely surround San Pablo. So it's, to me, it's important for us to know what's going on there and for them to know what's going on in Richmond, because we're always constantly having to work together. But the relationship is good.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for coming today. It's been really interesting hearing what you have to say. And I wish you the best.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Mrs. White, did you have a question? I can't see everyone. Mrs. White?
Right, Miss Wright.
Oh, right. Okay.
Good morning. And first, I just want to thank you, Chief French, for coming out. I always enjoy hearing you and appreciate everything that you and your department have done for the city of Richmond. And also, just personally, I appreciate you being a woman officer. It's great. I do have some concerns, but I'm not going to form them into a question at this moment because I provide services in terms of doing business with the city in terms of housing, real estate. And we have people who sell, people who buy, and I'm sure there are going to be questions from clients as to how they can feel safe. There's only so much that as a realtor that we can actually say, because we don't want to sway a person one way or another from a neighborhood or area. But those are some of my concerns. And at some point, hopefully, maybe I can have a chance to dialogue with you personally to express those questions that I'm hearing on the ground with regard to clients. So again, I just wanted to thank you and appreciate you. Thank you for coming to be our guest today.
Thank you. And feel free to contact me. My email is actually under my name. So send me an email, contact me.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Or I see some hands up, but they've already asked a question. I'm wondering if they just simply did not take their hand down.
No, I have a question really quick. This is Miss Dandy.
Oh, my hand.
Okay, go ahead, Miss Dandy.
Chief French, I just have a question or something that maybe you can answer or state for everyone about the METS officer, which is mental health evaluation team. And as far as I know, because I do work with the mental health, and I know it was a question about mental health. Most of the workers, they come from, especially late in the night, from Martinez. With all that going on and the changes of numbers, the 911, the 988, and we only have one METS officer because of budget and everything. How is that going to work and work together? Have you guys thought about working with mental health workers to ride with you, being that the budgets are being cut, that we don't have enough officers to be out there to go on those calls, to understand those calls, and the fact that it takes an extreme amount of time to get from Martinez to Richmond to work with the people that are out here? How is that, or where's that in any part of the budget that the reimagining has even talked about? Because they don't understand that mental health does not work between 9 to 5. It actually starts 5:01 to 7:59 in the morning. So how are we going to work with that?
So I'm not sure exactly how the reimagining team is setting up the mental health response team for Richmond, but I can tell you that I am continuing on with our mental health team relationship with the county, and what that is we have an officer that strictly focuses on mental health response with a clinician from the county. So we've had this program for 5+ years in Richmond. It's only one officer and one clinician. And what they do mainly is follow up on a lot of mental health calls. So we try to keep people from going back into crisis. Now, I would love to have more teams of officers like that, but I would also love to see mental health workers riding with police officers and responding to calls in the moment. So like I said earlier, we actually have a lot of success for the mental health calls, that despite what the narrative is, we actually have a lot of success in responding to calls, a lot of great outcomes when we respond to mental health calls. I also understand that a police officer is not necessarily needed to respond to all those calls. Sometimes we get a call from a person that says, I've been off my medication, I need to go to the hospital. Easy, officer goes, calls for an ambulance, the ambulance comes and takes the person away. A police officer doesn't necessarily need to respond to that type of call. But the calls where we do need a police officer to respond to, if we have a mental health worker that can be kind of the person that goes in first, and the police officer just more there for safety reasons, I think we can have better outcomes. And I've recently applied for a grant for a program like that.
Thank you.
And these were, again, things that I was looking at internally from my perspective on how we can improve services, how we can incorporate what the community was asking for into our operations. And so I came up with that before the Reimagining Task Force's recommendations came out. But as I was talking about that, I was accused of trying to intervene in what the task force was doing. So I've still applied for a grant that would allow for the combination of a mental health worker and a police officer riding together. Because again, I think that would have good outcomes for our community. And there are still calls that we will have to respond to that are mental health calls that the mental health workers will not respond to because of the level of violence or a weapon involved or something like that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Ms. Cheryl, I have a quick question too.
Okay, and we're gonna, our Q&A is gonna come to an end shortly, but go ahead.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. So, Chief French, do you know how many positions will you be, will be going forward to the personnel board at some point?
I am taking a community, well, I was going to take the 2 community service officer positions to the personnel board, but those were taken away from me. But I'm taking a civilian manager position to the personnel board. So I'm reallocating a captain position into a civilian manager position, because there are things in our administrative bureau that I feel have been falling through the cracks because the movement and rotation of sworn police officers happens so often that especially in our admin bureau, which deals with training and risk management issues, contracts, it takes a little while to learn some of those things. They're not necessarily police officer tasks that a police officer has to do. And once they, it takes about a year to really get up on all of the ins and outs of those types of duties. And once they learn it, then we're transferring them to another area to work. And so we're losing all that knowledge. And I just think a professional manager that can manage all of those things, that can be consistent, provide some consistency in that position would help. So that's the one position now that I'm going to be taking a personnel board.
Thank you for that answer. I have a question, and it's a short one. And do I have the right understanding that along with the cuts, there's also a freeze in hiring as well? You can't, when those officers leave for other employment, you cannot fill those positions. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. So this last budget that was passed at the end of June froze an addition, well, not froze, they took away an additional 12 police officer positions. So that brought my authorized number down to 145. So anything when I go below that, so right now I'm at 139, so I can hire up to that 145 number.
Okay, thank you for that answer.
Mhm.
We don't want to take up any more of your time. We're so appreciative of you coming today. You have a cheerleading section in this group right here. We appreciate you so much. And if we can be supportive in any type of way, we're going to email you and see what it is as a community we can do to help our community and you be successful. So this is our first meeting virtually for some of us, myself, I'll say. And it won't be the last that we will try to work with you, because I'm a resident of the city of Richmond. I've been here for 30 some years, and I've watched things over the years, and I have the energy today to jump in and try to make the community better. So you will see and hear me again. I'd like to thank you for coming and let you go, because this could go on for another hour or so. So as the mean chairperson, I'm going to have to cut this off at this point and just simply say thank you again and wish you much success. And we are going to be here to help you to be successful any way we can.
Thank you all so much. Thanks for having me today. You guys take care.
Thank you for coming.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we do have an agenda here. This is considered our annual meeting, and we have a little work to do. We have to, oh my goodness, we have to adopt the order of business and also adopt the rules of the meeting. We do have a quorum. We established that early on and what have you. So can everyone view the screen where it says the order of business?
Mhm.
Okay, so,
Yes.
all right, good. So I'd like to work through the agenda as fast as I can here. I don't want to keep you all morning. Well, no more than, maybe we can work through this in less than an hour so we can free ourselves up for the rest of the day. So the adoption of the order of business, we need to vote on that.
I move adoption.
Just, I'd like to combine the two.
I move adoption of the two then.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, just for technicalities, we are adopting, combining the two, the order of business and the rules of the meeting. And it has been moved on those two issues, and I need a second.
Second. Naomi.
Thank you. And we're going to try something different.
What is it, Ace? Oh, okay, good.
Okay, so.
One on Ashby?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, someone needs to mute themselves. Thank you. So what I'd like to do is, Madeline, would this be appropriate if I could just say, are there any objections to?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do, we're not going to say nay and yay and abstentions and what have you. I'd like to know if there are any objections to the motion that's on the floor presently. I hear silence, so I'm going to say that this has been approved. Thank you. And then we're going to move on to the program. Madeline, that would be you. You're going to present the slides.
Right. This is it.
Okay.
Okay. Let's turn my video on. So this is the 21-22 program that we've discussed at our board meeting, at our executive meeting. And what we have done is the program includes what you see in front of you, the distribution of voter materials, educational programs. We've done 3 Zoom meetings so far this year with our league. One was a town hall with Assembly Member Buffy Wicks. We did that in conjunction with the leagues in Alameda that are also part of her district. We did a redistricting webinar in collaboration with our sister league here in Contra Costa County, Diablo Valley. And we did a webinar with Diana, a district attorney, Dinah Beckton, and youth leaders. And then upcoming, we have planned to do 2 meetings, 2 Zoom meetings, one in September, one in November. One of the September one would be about plugging into public service. The November one is a discussion about racial justice reform. And then we also have a continuing collaboration with Community Conversations with Diablo Valley. And they have 4 different ones planned. One on wildfires in September, one on behavioral health services for October, one addressing the unhoused population in November, and then early next year, one on racism as a public health crisis. We also have youth educational programs. We're looking to reestablish a connection at the community college, and our general education of members and government officials about important topics. So that is the report, President Collier, and now we just need a motion and a second to adopt this program or to have any further conversation if anybody wants to.
I make a motion that we adopt this program.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor and a second. I want to do the same thing again. Are there any objections to this motion that's on the floor? It would appear that there are no objections, so then this passes and has been accepted. Thank you. And it's just a mere way of cutting down on time.
Can I ask one question really quick? It's not an objection, it's just a question.
Certainly.
To the things that are coming up, is there room for other things to be added later, or is this written in stone?
No, it's not. If you have a suggestion, please contact me.
Okay, that's what I was going to do anyway, but I was just making sure.
It's not written in stone.
Okay.
No, it's not. And we do a lot of support with the county library. Some of the forums that they host, we are responsible for participating in those as well. So there is a lot more on our plate than what you see here.
Right.
But it all comes under the umbrella of, voter registration and business at hand.
And
So
then the second thing really quick, I wanted to invite you guys to something, but I know that'll probably be later on. Is there going to be a place where I can do that to let you guys know that something else is coming up?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, and here's our budget for 21-22. Anne?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, would you like to speak on this briefly?
Yes, of course. I prepared a budget for 21-22, and we're projected 50 people to join in this year, and that comes to $3,500. And we're expecting money from the voter registration project, which would be $5,000. And we've also increased our donations to $1,000 for this fiscal year and the next fiscal year. And that's a total of $9,500 we expect in income. Expenses, we pay to the state, to the US, and to the state and to the Bay Area. We pay a certain percentage of our membership of every member, and the projection is based on 50 members. And the total of those three is $3,100. Also, we have a postage. We rent a post office, which has increased the rent this year. I budgeted for the post office and also for postage for the year, for the next year. Then we have printed materials, training and programs the printed material is 600, the training is 600, and the programs is 4,600. We don't know how much at this time is going to be virtual and how much we're going to be in person. So it's a little higher than it usually is. And that's $9,500 is the budget.
I have a question. Does that include maybe in the there is a postage. To do membership, it requires postage. Is that here somewhere, the postage?
Yeah, it's under postage.
Oh, so the 600 is not just the PO box.
No, it isn't.
So how much is it for the other?
$178.
178?
Yes.
How did you come up with that number?
Well, I didn't do any calculations to come up with that. You think it should be higher?
I don't know I hadn't thought about it right now, but so I know that I periodically have to go buy stamps.
Yeah, I know you submitted. Yeah, you submitted a bill for $66. Do you think that's higher enough, Janet? I can.
I usually pay for most of the postage stamps myself, but it really should be in here.
Yeah, okay. Do you think the number should be higher?
Yeah, probably, yeah. Because
How much?
It's been taking about 3 stamps per person.
So let me jump in. I'd like to see that we accept this budget. There is more money that is tentatively on the way. So we'll be able to pay for whatever stamps are, no matter what the cost is. So you don't have to worry about that. You'll get
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
See,
Yeah.
I move that we accept the budget for 21-22.
Second? Janet.
Thank you. It has been moved and second, and I'm going to continue with this. That are there any objections to this budget at this time?
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Janet.
Thank you.
So it appears that there are no objections, so the budget has been accepted for 21-22. Thank you. Amendment to the bylaws. I'm not going to even ask. So we went through the process of trying to incorporate inclusiveness. It was mandated by
You're going to sleep.
somebody needs to mute. So it was mandated by national that they wanted to include inclusion into our bylaws. And basically what they are focusing on is youth. And of course, we already know we've been focusing on youth. So we're meeting that, but it had to be in our bylaws. The other change that had to happen was that we have become officially a 501c3. So it had to be placed in our bylaws. Now, the wording, we tried to keep it in red so you could see what the changes were, but to me, it came down to grammar. We've been functioning with bylaws that were functional, but when you let other people come in, I solicited our coach and she went to Tom Carlson, and between the two of them, they wanted to revamp all of it. And I said, no, we will do certain things, but we're not going to just throw our bylaws out and do a whole new series. So I'm taking up the time to explain there is some red in there, but it was probably primarily grammar. And then also those two areas had to be placed in our bylaws, which would be the inclusion part, and then the fact that we are now a 501c3. So it had to be stated in the bylaws. So those are the major changes that occurred that we will be voting on here. Does anyone have questions before we move to see if we could accept the bylaws as they've been presented to everyone? I hear silence. Okay, with that in mind, I'm going to continue to move forward. Are there any objections to accepting the bylaws as presented?
Excuse me, Madam President,
Yes.
do we have to have a motion?
No, we're trying to, well, this is the motion. If no one objects, then it will be adopted.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
But thank you. You know, I appreciate you. So, yes, so are there any objections to moving forward with accepting the amendments in the bylaws? I don't hear any objections. So the process that we're using today, then it means that we accept the amendments to the bylaws.
Madam President, I think we should have a motion and a seconder too, and then you can ask that question.
Okay, so we're doing this different because I'm trying to stay consistent with what I did with the other.
But I think you did have one before. There was a motion and a seconder before. This one was the one that.
Madam President, I make a motion that we accept the bylaws
I second.
as presented.
Okay,
Second, Naomi.
thank you. So now I can simply say,
Yes.
is there any objections to the motion that is on the floor? Okay, with that in mind, then it has passed.
Madam President, who did the second, please?
Naomi.
Thank you. If you call your name out, I'll know who's doing these things.
Thank you.
Yes,
Madam Chair,
Yes.
quick question. You know, the amendments that you're asking us to accept, we
Yes.
received them in the mail. So everyone on this line connection got the attachments so they could look at them in advance. Yes?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, to make sure that no problem.
Okay, yes, and they were sent out a second time, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
As a reminder. So they went out to our full body twice.
Okay, thank you
And
very
they'll
much.
be- They'll be included in the minutes too,
Okay, okay.
as an attachment.
Okay, thank you for that. So Janet, the nominating committee, you're up to present this to us, please. Janet?
She's on mute.
Yeah, I don't.
There I am, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
great.
Okay, the nominating committee consisted of 5 people, 2 from the board and 3 from the general membership. And those people, the 2 people from the board are myself and Madeline Cronenberg. And the 3 people who are not on the nominating committee, but general membership are J.L. Myrick, Gabe Quinto, and Myrna DeVera. And so I would like to first thank those people for being in this position. And the first thing we did was verify whether or not the current members of the board who are up for election, and they're the ones who have 2023 by their name, whether or not they wanted to continue on. And they all answered yes. They are for Vice President of Programs, Madeline Cronenberg, Secretary, Myrtle Braxton, Treasurer, Ann Munoz, and the appointed members, who are Naomi Williams, Consuelo Lara, and Dorothy Hertzberg, if I got it right. Yeah, I got it right. And then so that those are the ones. And then for then the nominating committee is listed here. Anyway, so made our job this made our job very easy that they all said yes. And so this is whom I am presenting to you tonight for consideration. Can I make a motion myself?
Yeah, yes.
So I move that we accept these members.
Janet,
as
you left two
contingent.
people off when you're next.
I did? What
Yeah.
did I cut?
There's
Who did I cut off?
Sherry McCoy and Henaveva Callaway are also.
Oh,
the
I'm
members of the
sorry.
board.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure they get included in the motion.
It's hard to tell because this things are moving on my screen. Okay, so I would like to add those two people to. So I make a motion to accept them.
All right, Madeline, I'll second the motion.
It has been moved and second. So I'm going to attempt to do this again. Are there any objections to the nominating committee's report? Oh, that's okay. So it has been moved and second. There are no objections. So I'm going to move forward and say that it's been accepted. The report has been accepted today. Okay. Thank you for that report, Janet. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank all of the members of the board in their various roles for accepting a nomination to continue on. I think that this board is working very well, and I'd especially like to aim my comment there towards our president, who's been doing, I think, a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Involving a lot of work.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay, Point Melody. I did read through it. Did the board, did members, I won't say board, but did members have an opportunity to view the information that was given about Point Melody?
I didn't.
No.
Okay, well, okay. Some of you are familiar with the fact that I think Tyra, more than anyone, is up on the fact that Point Melody is in litigation. So the previous city council moved to accept, I guess, a bid from a developer. And so there are a few lawsuits out there pending, you know, what direction they'll be permitted to go in. But this is like a, if I remember correctly, a 30-year process. And so I don't know if there are any questions, or even if we have to take time to discuss it. It is a piece of property that was given over to the city of Richmond.
Sold to the city of Richmond for $1.
Yeah, okay. But it had a, oh, I don't know the proper term. There was a clause that said they had to develop when they turned this over.
Right.
And I didn't share it before, but I will share this. The late Ted Smith brought together 100 people, and I happened to be one of them, who sat down with the developer when it started 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Mr. Wright, Tyra's husband, was one of the members of the 100 that was there as well. And we came together and we asked questions, we ironed out questions, we decided that what they presented was good at the time, 30 years ago. But each city council that comes aboard wants to go in a different direction. But we're now right at a point where something has been approved, and once the court system decides if it's legal or not, then they're going to move forward. So I don't know what we can do at this point, And I say all that to say that the city, the League of Women Voters representatives, not officers, came to our executive board, and they want to protect this property, but it seems like they don't live in Richmond. And also is kind of like after the fact, because it's kind of a done deal until the courts decide on what can and cannot be done. So we don't really have to labor on this or have any discussion unless you want to. But the history was great history, because I read through it again, some of it, and what have you. So it's kind of like a wait and see at this point. If you have some questions, you can ask, but I think it's kind of a done deal at this point.
Cheryl, Miss Braxton has her hand raised.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was just going to say, I agree with President. I don't think our league has enough information to try to say that we want that agreement reversed. And I also agree with her that for people to come from some other city, and they've developed all along their coastline, and then to come in and ask you not to develop yours, you know, I just don't, we have too much outside people coming in trying to tell Richmond what to do. I think I agree with Cheryl that, the president, that we should wait and see what's going to happen with the courts. This city, who says they have no money, had to take money from the police department. They're spending, I don't know how much money to try to reverse something that the other city council had already paid and already done. We pay for these attorneys when we fight and go to court. So I hope this will come to some kind of end. But I agree with you. I don't think our league should be taking any position on this without having a thorough understanding of what's going on. Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Thank you, Mrs. Braxton.
This is Janet.
Yes.
I am from another city, and I didn't get the information, so I don't feel that I should be voting on this, and I agree with Myrtle.
Okay, so I don't really, we don't really need to take a vote per se, but the information is there. I did kind of say loosely that we would bring it to the general membership, but it's not an issue per se that we have to deal with at this time. I see Tyra's hand is up, I believe. You have a question, Tyra?
No, I don't have a question. Just basically, you know, if we were even voting on anything, what would that be? I mean, is it is it to co-sign on something, or are we looking to, you know, I don't know, be an advocate of one thing or another? I mean, it doesn't, to me, make sense for the League of Women Voters to focus on something of that nature.
Hot water.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, that's just my opinion. We have so many other issues before us in terms of the state of our democracy that our league, the League of Women Voters, need to really focus attention on. So that's just my comment, my little 2 cents, and I'll let out now.
You know, I appreciate that, and I agree with you. And I will a little question in there, and the question was, they came to us and they wanted us to co-sign what they believed in, and they felt it would carry more weight because we were in the city of Richmond. But at first, they were going to move forward without us until their president said, "This is our territory," which I appreciate that. But yeah, they just want us to co-sign whatever they come up with. And I don't think that we should participate at this time. I really don't. I see Miss Dandy's hand up. Linda, you're after her, and then Miss Braxton again. Miss Dandy, you have a question or statement?
Yes, my question is a question and then a statement. One, my question would be, I don't know if you ladies were for building for Point Melody, but
So Miss Dandy, what I'm going to say to you is, out of respect from one league to another and members of another league, and we're so close bordering, out of respect, I permitted them to come aboard, present their case and speak and what have you, but it's our town, it's our community, our town. And like I said, the courts will decide which way we can proceed. So we don't need to take a vote. We don't need to what we believe in or don't believe in at this point. We need to just sit and wait and see what, and there's more than one court case going on connected with Point Mulati. So it's not necessary for us to really take a vote or have more discussion on it. But out of respect, when someone comes to you and they are a league, I thought it would be fair for them to present their feelings and what have you. But the bottom line is, we live in Richmond. And so, no, we don't have to take a vote or have any more discussion, but it's there. So on our agenda. So I thought, you know, we could bring it up. But yeah,
No.
there's nothing we can do at this point but wait.
No, I heard you when you said we're not taking a vote, and I appreciate and understand that. It's just the fact that it's just so many times that it comes up in our city that other people are making decisions for us that is kind of eating at me, that we even have to sit and wait. But that's just my opinion. And I know I speak up a lot about it because this is my city, our town. And we have to look at other people's, what they want for our city, and then they go back home and lay in their bed.
True statement. Okay, Linda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I think that we should take a vote not to do anything, but take a vote on our decision not to vote, so that we can present this back to the other League of Women Voters. I think it was El Cerrito that came.
No, it's Berkeley. It may be Alameda.
Albany.
Okay.
It's
I
Berkeley,
apologize.
Albany.
I'm not sure which league, but it was another league. I just think that our voting as a league, that we intend to wait on the decision that was made by our city council, and that we're not going to take a stance on this to present to them, because you did say when she came and spoke to us, we're going to bring it to our membership. So I think by saying that to her, we should vote that we agree with you, Madam. I agree with you, Madam President, that we should not vote on yay or nay or to step in, but just to say that we as a board or as a league have decided not to intervene, but to let our city council and let the legal system decide on what's going to happen. And that maybe at that time we will decide, you know, but I think just voting that we've decided not to is better than doing nothing and saying, oh, well, we didn't do anything.
Okay, so is that your motion?
My motion is to go by what you said, Madam Chair, not to vote yay or yes or no on this agenda item, but to allow the legal system to determine what you said it the right way. I might be saying it the wrong way. So you can make your statement again, and I want to agree with you and have you make that motion for us.
Okay, so let me try to be as brief. My motion would be, at this time, we have made a decision to not vote it up or down. that we will wait on the court system decisions. So we elect not to co-sign any documents coming from another league on this.
Okay. I second that motion.
Okay. Madam President,
I'll write it out and send it to you.
okay, okay. In the minutes, to make it, am I muted? No. In the minutes, to make it make sense, I'm only going to put in there that we voted to take no action at this time. Now, all the rest of it, we don't have to put all that up.
Okay, great,
Is that
great.
okay with everybody?
Okay.
All right.
So there is a motion on the floor, and with that said, are there any objections? I see a hand up. Is that you, Mrs. Braxton?
Oh, I forgot to take it down. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
It's gone.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor, and it has a second. And so I'd like to.
I'll second it so we can get on. There's a motion by Linda, and I'll second the motion.
Okay.
So, Myrtle, Secretary, motion by our president, Cheryl Collier, and I seconded it already.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
You guys confuse me because you make motions and then you talk forever.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. So it was motion by our president.
Cheryl.
And who second?
I did.
Linda.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So there is a motion on the floor, and I'd like to know if there are any objections to the motion. Okay, with that in mind, the motion passes. Mrs. Braxton, you got that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we can move the agenda. Madeline? Let's see.
Let's go back and share, but I think we're at the end of the road, except if anyone has any comments or suggestions or announcements.
Mrs. Dandy wants to make a statement or announcement, I believe.
Hello again, ladies. So on Ms. Myrtle, I forgot the date. Was it Thursday or Friday? When did I come? To the Commission of Aging.
Oh.
What day?
Naomi, do you
That's
have?
Friday.
Is this coming Friday?
Okay, so I went to that meeting. I'm working with Youth Works, and on the 12th, which is Monday, we'll do it again. We had a meeting about the use and cleaning and help cleaning up and cutting yards, starting at the end of August, for the youth to come out and help clean yards throughout Richmond. I wanted to be selfish and say start with Northeast, but we'll start all over. But I want everybody to know that's what we're going to start is we're going to start with the elder, the disabled, and the vets. And we're going to go through all that, and we're going to help throughout Richmond, and we're going to get the kids, youth between 16 to 24, their internship hours started by the end of August. So we would like people to sign up throughout all of Richmond, all of the commissions, all of the boards, and all of the neighborhoods. On the 12th, we'll be doing the same exact thing, going through our presentation, informing the neighborhood and presidents of everything that we're going to start to do with the youth. And along with that, on the 29th, and I'm also with the homeless task force, I'm bringing a presentation on how we can get youth services, homeless services, and a building, hopefully, for runaway at-risk youth, pregnant moms, single teen dads, and a safe surrender spot. We do not have a place in mind because I do not have money for it, but this is something that we're bringing because of all the situations that are going on in Richmond, and I work really close with at-risk homeless children, I was going to say students in Richmond, that it is a need that our children that are out in the streets 5 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, that they have a safe haven to go with. So I am hoping, really hopeful, that as we are I'm with the League of Women Voters of West Contra Costa, that you ladies will come along with me in understanding, not so much as be a partner, but be someone that I can connect with to help with the project that I have going on for these youth that are homeless, that have mental health issues, that need somewhere to go to, because we are in very low shortage, especially like we just got through talking to Chief Bisa French. I just want to say her name. Bisa French, letting her know that we do have mental health problems, just not for adults. There are a lot of mental health children in our community that do not get the services or resources that they need because we don't have the services and resources here in Richmond. But with a program that I'm trying to create here, it will help West Contra Costa, it will help Richmond first, West Contra Costa, then it will go into other cities in our county, and then spread out further. Just a little short part, we had 2 children that were here. They could not get any services here in Richmond, West County, or Contra Costa. We sent them over to Oakland. They stayed there for a moment. They were literally kicked out the moment they started having mental health issues. And the fact that they didn't have anywhere to go but come back here to Richmond and be homeless on our streets, I find that as an issue and a problem that no one is really dealing with. Knowing that we have a homeless problem, they have forgotten that we have youth homeless too out here. So those 2 dates that are coming up will be July 12th or 14th. I can't even remember the day, Monday, sorry. And then the 29th. So
Miss Dandy,
yes.
I need to jump in, and I have 2 questions.
Yes.
And
Go
also
ahead.
a request that perhaps you can send an email out
Yes.
with those dates to all of us, or you can send it to me and then
I was going to say, I'll send it to you.
Okay, that's fine. So the first one I had was about monies that should be able to come from the county that support you with your proposal or effort in order to have shelter for homeless youth with mental health issues. But there's money there, so she should work on that. The other one is, as a senior citizen myself, I signed paperwork with the city of Richmond to adopt a senior where they're supposed to come in and do yard work and what have you. So I don't know if you need to partner with them or even want to. They have not been able to find the people so they say, to match you up. So I don't know who, I'd have to look for my paperwork, but maybe if you want, maybe it could be something that you could work with the city of Richmond on. But they have a program helping seniors, and if they had youth, perhaps it would move and they would start doing something. But right now they say they don't have the manpower to do it.
Well, right, youth works, youth build. We have the manpower, we have the youth that are going to do it. We're going to try to get more even outside of just youth works, because a lot of kids don't even know about youth works and blah, 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 and all the different programs. But what we're trying to do is gravitate to all the youth 16 to 24. And someone did ask about, the middle school, but it's kind of hard to use middle schoolers because of the liability situation that go along with it. No, I know what you're saying. The adopt an
Senior.
elder or senior, I want to say it correctly, adopt a senior to get them to come over there. We are trying to get every avenue to get all these youth to do something. Now, they will not be paid. It is for free. And you guys do not even have to pay us to get it done. And if we keep it going and get it going as we would like it to be, it will be a continuous thing. But right now, as it being a pilot, as it's going with other partners, it's kind of hard because everybody wants to do the same different thing. So what we're trying to do is just make sure that you guys that are seniors, disabled, and vets, that you get done the resources to help you fix your yards. And that's what we want to do. And I'm going to do it regardless if it's just me or if it's all the other partners that work in it, because it can and needs to be done.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So are there any other announcements?
I do.
Oh, I see your hand up too. I apologize for not acknowledging, but go
That's
ahead,
okay.
jump in there.
So I would like to invite the League of Women Voters to the 100th anniversary of the labor union's dinner on September 25th from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Craneway Pavilion. And there's gonna be some mashed potatoes, maybe some roast beef. And then but the tickets are only $150 a person. But if the league wants to have a table, you're looking at about $2,500. And the mayor will be there, or someone from his office will attend, maybe the city manager too. So hopefully everyone will come on the 25th of September. And also the next day is going to be very special because Betty Reed Soskin, who will be turning 100 on the 26th,
Oh,
they're having some sort of function for her at the Craneway Pavilion as well. So this is your chance to see a living legend herself. And it may be free or maybe costly, it depends. So hopefully you both will attend these events. There will be some food there too, Michelle. That's it.
oh, I was gonna put
Yes,
my
ma'am.
email in the chat or attempt to. I have a new, it's no longer new, it's me, my note pad.
Okay.
I'm not good at this one, but maybe you can't do it. Let me see.
Madam Chair,
Let's
I can
try it.
have Cordell's, this is Linda Whitmore, Cordell, he can send me that
Yes, ma'am.
information and I'd be glad to forward that to you. So send me,
I have
you
it.
have my email. Send me both
I
of
have
the
your email address.
flyers and the information, and I will forward them to our president, who in turn will forward to our membership.
Sure, I sure can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, any other announcements?
I had my hand up, Madam Chair. It's not an announcement. I would love to. I see if we have time. I see faces on our connection here that if they got a chance to introduce themselves, we can know who our members who joined us today. It'd be great. I see a few. The
Okay.
board did, but our non-board members did get a chance to get recognized.
Maybe I could help you.
Well, I'm going to ask Linda, since it was her idea to do that. I cannot see all of them.
Okay, if you look at participants, it tells you who's here.
Yeah,
Well,
she's
I know
gonna
who's here, but
hello.
I thought it'd be a chance for them to at least have the voice heard.
I see
Oh,
Miss
have a
Vicky
few minutes.
Dickerson though. I see her. But
A
anyway,
number of people have left already, by the way.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. If you're leaving, I see.
go ahead, Linda. Linda, go ahead. And those that you see, you can.
Okay. I see Ms. Windsor. You're muted.
Windsor is my first name.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay, because I've got two last names.
Oh.
And this is my first meeting since I joined, and Myrtle pushed me into doing this.
Well, I'm grateful to Myrtle for doing that. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, and I see Madam Champagne Brown.
She's muted. I think she's
Got
muted.
it. I'm trying not to start my morning off just that bad. Good morning, everyone. My name is Champagne Brown. I became a member within the last couple of months, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all today.
Glad to have you.
Champagne, tell them your affiliation outside of this.
Oh, okay, which one do you want? I'm gonna let you pick one.
BWOPA.
Okay, I am the current president for the Richmond Contra Costa chapter of BWOPA, and that's Black Women Organized for Political Action.
Thank you. If she read them all, she would be here all day. So, and I see Vicky Ferguson.
Hi, everyone. This is my first meeting as well. I became a member during the pandemic, and thank you, Madam President, Shura Collier. I'm formerly the Dean of Student Services at Contra Costa College, where Miss Linda and I used to work together. I'm currently the Vice President of Equity and Student Services at Diablo Valley College. So I'm a proud resident of Richmond, California for almost 19 years. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. So Janet, put a star by her name for that Contra Costa College connection.
I put it in my head.
Okay.
Let me jump in for a moment. I have to thank her because she worked with me to draft a letter that we'll be sending out with our 501c3. So we already put her to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I see Myrna De Vera.
Hello, everyone. I'm Myrna De Vera from Hercules. I was invited by Gabe Quinto and Janet Abelson, and I'm a former Hercules mayor and council member, but now retired. And this is the first, I'm not very active nowadays, but I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you. Phyllis White didn't get a chance to introduce herself earlier.
Good morning or good afternoon. It was a pleasure to attend your meeting today. It was well managed as always.
Do you want to say your affiliation, Phyllis, with our league?
Oh, I am the appointed League of Women Voter coach, local league coach for the West Contra Costa League.
Thank you. Kibber Kapoor, if I pronounce it wrong, I apologize.
Hi there, I'm Kabir Kapoor. I'm not a League of Women Voters member, but I'm with the RPA, Our Revolution East Bay and East Bay DSA. And I joined this meeting to mainly find out what you all were doing in terms of like redistricting West Contra Costa, because I know the Diablo Valley chapter's been doing stuff around that. So I was just joining to find out.
Well, Kibber, Madeline Cronenberg is, we're setting up a meeting, a forum on redistricting. So I think Madeline she'll make note and make sure you get information about that.
Actually, we did it. So
okay.
If you email me, I will post the link to it again in our Facebook page, on our Facebook page. Right, but we did one with
right.
We produced it.
Yes, I thought we had another one coming up. Okay, no. Okay, sorry. I think that's everyone. If I miss anybody, but I think that's all. So thank you, Madam Chair. If it was.
What about Jolie Gasser?
Joni did speak earlier, but Joni, why don't you introduce yourself? I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm a retired nurse, proud resident of Richmond, and I've actually been a member of the league off and on for many years. I work primarily in healthcare policy. I'm trying to bring single payer healthcare to California, and I've been a longtime member of Healthcare for All Contra Costa chapter. So glad to be here today, really impressed with the meeting and hope to continue to be active. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. It was really nice to hear everybody speak and get a little background. That was good. Thank you.
Thank you. So would that conclude? Are there any other announcements or statements that anyone would like to make? I hear silence. So with that in mind, I am very appreciative of everyone that took time out to participate in this virtual annual meeting today. I want to thank my board. I have a dynamic board. I'm very proud of them. They're very supportive of me, and each one of them brings something very unique to this executive board. And again, like I say, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you, and I'm proud of you.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I know you're trying to stop the meeting, but I just want to, I know that a couple members who are not on board wanted to get more information or contact from us. So I don't know if anybody who's not a board member have a suggestion or how we can maybe get more information to you or your involvement more with what we're doing. I know a few of you spoke to me about wanting to feel more involved with what we're doing as a league. Maybe, I don't know if you want to say anything.
Well, what we decided to do is Madeline is going to, she volunteered to take on the responsibility of any activities that may be occurring, not necessarily with just with our chapter, because our bylaws are pretty, our bylaws do not require us but to meet 4 times a year, period. Okay, so we do more than that. But Madeline is going to, if another league is having something, she will shoot that information out. There are layers. So you need to understand that we have locally about 4 chapters. Then there is the Bay Area League, and then there's a state, and then also there's national. And she's going to combine those informations and begin to send those out so you can really get a full feel for what is happening with the League of Women Voters.
Right.
And
Actually, I did it earlier today. Some of you
Yeah.
may have noticed that you got something today. And what has happened is that the Bay Area League is putting out an e-blast now that includes a lot of different activities throughout the Bay Area. So what I'm going to do is forward that out to all of our local league members. And anything that we have locally to add to it, I will add to it. And I believe that's going to be a weekly thing. But today was the first one because they did a test run last week, and I sent that out. So that's why you're going to hear about what's happening in Berkeley and Palo Alto and in the North Bay. But because most of it is available online, they're all Zoom meetings, that it's really a valuable asset now to be able to get information.
Good. Thank you.
okay. So that's where we're at with that. So I think that's great. And I appreciate that, Madeline, and what have you. And so that will kind of keep them abreast. And we can always, until we decide if we're going to adopt what some of the other leagues have, which is, what is that program that they pay monthly for? The way to contact us or to communicate with us would be through Facebook. And that's what we have, unless you, if you go in online and look for the league, it has several of our board members' personal numbers out there, which I don't like, but it is. So there are several ways that you can contact us. But
We have to update our website. That's one of the, that's what we have to, we're still in the process of doing.
Yes, yes. I don't know if it's, I can't think of the name of it, but I'm not sure if I want to spend that kind of money per month. They do more than just, there's a way to contact you, but they manage like your bills and all kind of stuff. So I don't know. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are the primary ways that you can Google us and get our personal telephone numbers, or you can go on Facebook. And then now you will receive information that's happening on all 4 levels, actually: local, Bay, state, and national. So we're in the infancy stage, but we're going to get better at communicating with our general membership.
Madam Chair, if it's okay, I know that for BWAPA Champaign, there's a real good job getting information. What group are we working with, our BWAPA, to get information to your membership? Might be what Cheryl's thinking about.
I use Constant Contact.
Okay, I didn't know that, but I think we use Milo or something like that. I think some of the leagues use Milo. But anyway, maybe I can talk to you about that.
It's, that one is specific to the league, but anyway.
Yeah, and it's a monthly fee.
That is correct. I'm not sure if Constant Contact still have a free version, like if you're under so many emails. I think the one that I have is up to maybe 1,000 emails, because we have basically 500 emails on our list, and that costs me about $45 a month. But I know MailChimp still have a free version, but that one, I most definitely think you have to stay under 200 emails. And then after that, then it starts to charge you in increments based upon your emails. I like Constant Contact. I found it much easier to use versus MailChimp. But if finances is something that you have to take into consideration, then I would say MailChimp, like West County Democrats, because we want to begin sending out newsletters to our members. As the treasurer, I had us sign up for MailChimp until our email get over 100, 200, and we have to start paying. But any questions that you have, please just reach out to me. And Madeline, no, I have no problem answering. And Miss Linda, no, I have no problem with answering any questions.
Okay, that's great. And I will be reaching out to you because I like the way the West Dems membership is set up online, where it comes to you, you click you give them the money, it's real friendly and easy to use. And I'd like to adopt something of that nature as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, like I say, we're in the infancy stage, but we're moving forward. So thank you for that information and what have you. So someone hold me to that and what have you. So any more statements or questions at this point? Because we almost are, you know, at the 2 hour, and that's, I think, any meeting.
I just have a quick announcement.
Okay, please.
This Friday, Dr. Hurst, the new superintendent of West Contra Costa, will be speaking at the Concilio Zoom meeting. And you can log in through the Facebook Concilio page or Between Two Teachers on YouTube, and it'll be recorded and posted. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, thank you. All right.
Nice seeing you, Charmaine. Campaign.
Yes, it was.
You know, it's always great to see you, Miss Naomi.
I think that brings our meeting to a conclusion at this point. Oh,
I must celebrate.
I saw Ms. Braxton's hand go up. I didn't know it was a question.
Yeah, enough is enough.
Okay, okay.
I heard that statement before. Enough is enough.
Okay, and then I'll just second that you made a motion that we adjourn.
Yeah.
I second the motion.
Okay. There's no objections, I'm sure. So the motion passes. And with that in mind, I thank you, and please enjoy the rest of your day and the weekend.
Thank you. Take
Hey,
care.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Oh,